A continuación, vamos a presentar nuestra charla magistral internacional del día de hoy, no sin antes recordarles que es muy importante que todos nosotros silenciemos nuestros micrófonos para que todos podamos disfrutar sin interrupciones de esta exposición. Esta ponencia contará con traducción en simultáneo, por lo que les indicamos a todos nuestros participantes activar el icono del mundo que se encuentra en la parte inferior derecha del Zoom y seleccionar, por supuesto, la versión en español. Dicho esto, me es muy grato poder presentarles a nuestra primera invitada. Se trata de la magíster Merih Malmqvist Nilsson, que nos acompaña desde Suecia. Miss Merih Malmqvist Nilsson cuenta con 32 años de experiencia práctica en acreditación y evaluación de la conformidad en el sistema de la Unión Europea para la acreditación y evaluación de la conformidad, incluidos los reglamentos técnicos y también la cooperación dentro de la infraestructura de calidad global. Participó en programas internacionales de formación y desarrollo que brindan apoyo a las economías en desarrollo, específicamente en Europa, Oriente Medio y también África. Trabajó entre 1995 y 2018 en varios niveles de la dirección de SWICDAC, logrando la dirección general interina de SWICDAC y presidenta de ILAC. Entre el año 2017 y el 2020, también fue presidenta de INET en representación de ILAC y actualmente CEO de su propia empresa, Merih Quality Consulting AB. Miss Merih nos presentará la siguiente temática: la acreditación y soporte a los ODS en la visión económica, social y ambiental en el Perú y las naciones en desarrollo. Muy buenos días, Miss Merih, bienvenida.
Thank you very much. Could I please have slide number 3? Thank you. Honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor and a pleasure to be among you today. Excuse me, I still hear the translation and I really wouldn't want to hear that because it's a bit confusing for me. So how do I do? Shall I mute original audio? Okay, I'll give it a new try. I'm terribly sorry for this, but okay, so if I stick to the English channel, okay, and I mute the original, okay, that's where I am now. Thank you so much, and sorry everyone. Honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor and a pleasure to be among you today and to be able to address you. Today, I'm here to talk about the role of accreditation and conformity assessment in the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals, with a special view to the challenges of developing economies. I have also been asked to address some success stories. Now I'm going to, for the sake of the translation, I'm going to almost slavishly stick to my manuscript, which means if you're given this afterwards, you will have the full speech that I have made and you will be able to read it at your own leisure and time. Nowadays, I find it difficult to talk about accreditation without giving a broader background picture of where we are and what challenges we face. I have therefore decided to address the following topics and hope that you will appreciate the reason for my choices. Now, the first one is the challenges we're facing today, the Industrial Revolution 4.0 and the technologies that come with it, and achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. Topic number 2, the role of quality infrastructure in this landscape and the challenges it's facing. Topic 3, the role of accreditation and conformity assessment in achieving the SDGs. Number 4, the challenges and opportunities of developing countries, developing economies. And then finally, a few final words. Next slide, please. There are two main, next slide, please. Could I have the next slide, please? No. Yeah, you can leave it there. That's fine. No problem. There are two main challenges which humanity is struggling with today. One is the achievement of Sustainable Development Goals, and the other is adapting to the innovations which define the Industrial Revolution 4.0. Both challenges require innovative thinking and a groundbreaking change of attitude. The first one is an existential challenge, while the second one is more of a technical character. The advantages and possible disadvantages of the industrial development are already being discussed among researchers and in think tank organizations. The discussions on disadvantages are focused on unemployment, increased environmental impact, increased gap between developed and developing economies, and so on, and the possible negative impact on sustainability. The advantages are focused on better work environment, provision of tools for achieving the SDGs, facilitating everyday life, supporting reliable global value chains, and so on. Now, how countries embrace and adapt to the coming technological changes will determine whether they meet the promise of our agenda for sustainable development and achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. Next one, please. Next picture. Next slide. Thank you. Thank you. The easiest way to understand the fourth industrial revolution is to focus on the technologies driving it. These include artificial intelligence, blockchain technology, new computational technologies, virtual reality, and so on and so forth. Now, these technologies still have an unknown potential impact on sustainability and the environment. Technologies do not always have predetermined outcomes for societies. Policy choices, social dialogue, and public opinion all shape the ends to which technology is used. The SDGs have been developed as a response to the increasing negative impact of our chosen way of life on the planet and all forms of life inhabiting it. SDGs give a globally agreed definition of the problems which stand in the way of a sustainable planet. However, the SDGs only define the what. They do not define the how. And the how will be defined by the choices we make when embracing new technologies. So we need to make the right choices. Next slide, please. New technology is already being used to counteract the problems defined under the SDGs. For example, pollinating and monitoring crops with drones, online healthcare, intelligent textiles for monitoring patients, 3D printing to decrease the environmental footprint of traditional production techniques, blockchain technology, data analytics, and so on and so forth. Next slide, please. And yes, the role and challenges of the institutions of the quality infrastructure. In the middle of these challenges, we have the global quality infrastructure, which has evolved over many years and is conservative by design and nature. For the actors of this well-established environment, new ideas and change can be scary, especially if we believe that these new ideas and changes need to conform to old values and old truths. So what can the institutions of the quality infrastructure do? When talking about quality, we have generally focused on functionality and safety. To use the technologies of IR 4.0 as a leverage to achieve the SDGs, we need to take a more holistic approach. It may in fact now be the right time to redefine quality to also include the concept of sustainability, which means the quality infrastructure institutions will be working to a triple bottom line: functionality, safety, and sustainability. The institutions of the quality infrastructure create a quality value chain. And this value chain involves all actors: regulators, metrology institutions, standards bodies, accreditation bodies, conformity assessment bodies, and market surveillance authorities. Next one, please. Thank you. The conformity assessment trends, which can be expected in the landscape of industrialization. Next picture, please. Thank you. are some examples of what's being done in conformity assessment in countries which have embraced new technology. Drones are already being used for monitoring and inspection. There will probably come a time when test methods will be updated through machine learning and artificial intelligence. Digital testing may come to replace physical testing, and digital twins and 3D printing may be used to emulate objects for testing or product certification. Manufacturers and service providers are embracing new technology to adapt to new requirements and expectations from the market and from regulators, and also to make their products more attractive and their processes more efficient. This is happening as we speak. To this change in industry, the conformity assessment community is adapting by going through a digital transformation on many fronts. And this transformation will require not only new technology, but also new values and a new mindset. As the top level of conformity assessment chain, accreditation bodies respond by adapting their processes to the changes in the methods used by conformity assessment bodies. Next picture, please. Thank you. Accreditation is a process set up a long time ago to ensure that governments could trust the quality of the products they procured. It is originally a British invention based on quality assurance of testing and calibration. In its beginning, it was then based on local requirements. And like all successful inventions, it spread. The requirements spread, and finally, they became an international guide called ISO Guide 25, and thereafter an international standard. So if you wonder why it is ISO IEC 17025 and not any other number given to that standard, then you know where the 25 comes from. As needs developed, so did the variety of conformity assessment processes and related standards to finally arrive at the landscape where we live today. The popularity of the process talks for itself. Accreditation has helped public institutions and private enterprises ensure the quality of the products and later the quality of the services they procured. As such, it is proven that accreditation itself is a success story. However, we also know that all inventions have to be further developed to adapt to new technology, and the principles of accreditation, even though they may remain the same, it will have to go through a change. So the main principle of accreditation is that a third-party, independent and impartial body assesses the competence of organizations doing conformity assessment and provides an attestation that the competence has been proven. This will continue being so as long as accreditation remains relevant for the market. Providers of products and services will always need to provide evidence that their claims are credible, and I believe this will never change. And with the diversity of products and services available today and their technological depth, a very flexible system will be required. Government ministries, excuse me if there are any among us, will never have sufficient resources and competence to check the market as a whole. In fact, it's not their role. Their role is to draw up the laws defining the essential requirements. And these essential requirements will have to rely on standards in order to have a market where the minimum safety and sustainability requirements will be the same for all actors. But we shall still need independent third-party accreditation and accredited conformity assessment to make sure that trust is maintained to the products and services on our market. So as long as this need continues, accreditation and accredited conformity assessment will continue giving the market added value and create confidence for products and services. Now I can have the next picture, please. Thank you. I'd like now to give you some very simple examples of how accreditation supports the Sustainable Development Goals. I have chosen the most obvious ones, and I'm sure there are others where you can find other examples as well. Let us start with Zero Hunger, SDG 2. Food safety is an important component in achieving zero hunger, and accredited food safety testing, inspection, and certification is paramount to ensure food safety. Goal number 3, good health and well-being. Health services with good quality are ensured only through accredited medical diagnostic services, such as clinical medicine laboratories, medical imaging, pathology, microbiology. Goal number 6, clean water and sanitation. The quality of water is an important component, and accredited testing of drinking water is ensuring this. Also, testing of water quality in lakes and waterways is imperative to ensure that any leakage from sanitation infrastructure is discovered early and action taken. Goal number 7, anyone can claim, and that's about affordable clean energy. Anyone can claim they are producing clean energy. How do we make sure it is really clean if we do not have accredited conformity assessment bodies to monitor the systems that are being used? Goal number 8, decent work and economic growth. Work conditions are an important factor in ensuring decent work. Work health management systems under accredited certification ensure that they are truly safe. Goal number 9, industry, innovation, and infrastructure. The backbone of successful production is a well-functioning and innovative industry and a well-functioning infrastructure to support it. Accredited testing and product certification ensures the safety and sustainability of products. And they also ensure quick access to the market of new and innovative products. And you, of course, need transport infrastructure to be able to disseminate your products. And that can be ensured through use of accredited testing and certification services for cement, steel, wooden structures, soil analysis, canvassing of geophysical quality of the landscape, and so on. And number 11, sustainable cities. Anyone can claim that they have built energy neutral houses, but without accredited testing, inspection, and certification, we cannot prove it. In fact, there is also a management system standard for sustainable communities. Goal number 13, climate action. Emissions from industries and transport infrastructure depends on accredited conformity assessment for its measurements. Goal 14, life below water. The quality of seawater, presence of microorganisms, the health of living creatures in water are all aspects which depend on accredited conformity assessment for identifying anomalies and ensuring compliance with requirements. Goal number 15, life on land. The quality of soil and air, the healthy or unhealthy status of the habitat we inhabit can only be diagnosed in a reliable way with accredited conformity assessment. And finally, goal number 17, partnerships for the goals. Achieving the SDGs will require many organizations to partner up. Accreditation bodies will be the partner that will give you the receipt that you have succeeded. Next picture, please. At this point, I would like to draw your attention to all the management system standards that are available through ISO. And some examples are given on this slide. And if you want a full list, there is a link to the ISO website where you can get the full list. And it was so long, I couldn't copy it into the PowerPoint. So I'm sorry for that. But any one of these can be subject to certification under accreditation to ensure its proper application and the reliability of the results achieved. Next picture, please. That brings us to the challenges and opportunities of developing countries. And immediately I'd like to take the next picture and talk about the dilemma of developing economies here. In developing economies, and I've heard this a number of times in different seminars, in particular under the WTO side events, that in developing economies, there is always the argument that there aren't enough resources to invest in conformity assessment and accreditation, that the money is needed to build roads and hospitals and other infrastructure, to feed people, to provide sanitary measures, clean water, housing. What can I say? I hear what you're saying, but I really don't understand. In fact, I don't understand why developing economies seem to think that the only use of conformity assessment and accreditation is for export of goods and services. I need to insist that the housekeeping has to start at home. Conformity assessment and accreditation will give its greatest added value at home before it starts supporting trade with other countries. What use is a road or a bridge if it is going to collapse under the next torrential rain or storm or flood? What use is a hospital if diagnostic methods are not up to standard and quality assured and do not provide sufficient evidence for a reliable diagnosis? What use is a hospital at all if patient data easily gets mixed up? In fact, if you as a country wish to provide reliable infrastructure, housing, clean water, proper sanitation, safe products, etc., on your internal market, you have to employ the services of accredited conformity assessment to make sure that you have achieved your goals. Once you have done that, your people will prosper, your industries will prosper, and you will be able to participate in the global value chains. Thinking of quality as functionality, safety, and sustainability will become an integral part of life. Industries which deliver reliable products and services at home will not deliver to a lower standard internationally, because it's very labor intensive to work to double standards, and no one does it unless it is specifically promoted. Next picture, please. Thank you. As a citizen, what do I want? Well, I want to know that I can drink water without worrying about getting sick, that I can use the train without worrying if the railway will collapse, that I can eat my food without worrying about pesticides and their long-term effect on my health, that I can go to the hospital and know that I'm getting the right diagnosis and treatment. Something extremely positive happens in a society when people can relax in the secure knowledge that they do not actively need to question the safety of products and of the infrastructure, but can rely on the system to do it for them. People's energy is not spent on worrying, but on creative thinking and productivity. So I want to be able as a citizen to trust that the system protects me. Next slide, please. Thank you. Now, success stories, I didn't want to particularly go into anything specific here, but I'm going to guide you to two websites where there are a huge number of success stories, and they are very well sorted out depending on which country they come from and what particular sector they cover. And they will tell you, what solutions that have been used by various economies. The examples given are general success stories for the sustainability of the planet, nature, and all living beings. However, if you wish to look at a particular solution from individual economies, go to either publicsectorassurance.org or businessbenefits.org. So there you have two websites where one is from a public sector point of view and the other is from a business benefit point of view. The website is set up by the partners in the Global Quality Infrastructure Network, INETQI, and you can see which organizations are represented there. And it includes some high-profile organizations also, like the WTO, like the World Bank Group, like UNEC, UNIDO, and so on. And next slide, please. This will be my final message. Now, I've always claimed that developing economies do not carry the same baggage as the more developed economies of the world, and should theoretically be more open to new thinking. In fact, I do get a bit annoyed when, through various aid programs, developing economies try to sell their solutions directly as they are to developing economies. And I'm not a great fan of that. I think that developing countries can lead us into the future by not following in the footsteps of the developed economies, but taking advantage of new technologies in order to successfully implement the promises of the Sustainable Development Goals. Now, I'm not saying you should create something totally different yourself, but the way a more developed economy has arrived at a solution, and the solution they have found may not necessarily be the solution that you need to embrace. You can maybe arrive at the same goal through another route or another type of solution or another type of approach and with another mindset. So I'm challenging you to take the lead in this time of transformation, to dare be vulnerable and make mistakes. You might not get it right the first time, but it will definitely be good enough. And remember, we do not learn from our successes. They only make us complacent. Look at the developed world. You see how complacent they are. We learn from our mistakes and from our painful struggles. And with that, I'd like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak on this very special day. Thank you.